I was born in America. I love this country. I can't believe that our government would suppress the free market innovation demonstrated by blockchain and cryptocurrency.
This is a war between centralization and decentralization.
Bitcoin and blockchain is the most important technology I will ever see in my life.
About to launch Dragonchain ICO.
You're looking at the numbers and you're thinking, oh my gosh, is this possible? This is so exciting. He's such a visionary. I'm always thinking of the worst things that could happen, and I'm always preparing for that.
We've made it clear what the law is. If you are promoting securities, you're taking on securities law liability.
You're sounding a warning bell for people. Maybe they better pay a little closer attention to the law, or the SEC is going to pay closer attention to them.
Yeah.
We received an official notice from the SEC that Dragonchain is under investigation.
We were under investigation by the SEC. There were days where we had 100 lawyers at a law firm reviewing documents. They've checked and checked and checked, and now they're making us spend $6 to $10 million.
With Dragonchain, we're at this moment, we're spending more on legal than any other resource combined.
You've got big, powerful incumbents that are spending lots of money to influence regulators to kill the industry.
We're building new technology to help the world, and we're being treated like criminals.
People are taking their time on purpose to protect the bigger investment interests that want to keep the layman's out because they don't want everybody to have the same power.
That's really what's holding back innovation in the United States.
They actually do shut us down. They're screwing the very people that they're supposed to be protecting.
It's an open source technology. Everyone stands to benefit from it. And that's why you're seeing nations like China leaning in so heavily.
The U.S. was leading in patent applications into the blockchain ecosystem, and China is actually surpassing the United States on patent applications filed on blockchain-related innovations.
We could be so much farther along in the game if the government let us.
These major companies with very solid projects, fantastic white papers, amazing all-star teams are saying we don't want any part of the United States because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
The rest of the world is going to leave America behind.
Because you cannot take 7.5 billion people and take away the dream from them and think that nothing is going to happen.
So it feels like we're supposed to fight this battle with the SEC.
But my biggest fear is the SEC coming down and shutting Dragonchain down.
And there's no stopping this technology, and everybody knows that. We need to stand together to defend the right to build the America that we want.
This is the modern day industrial revolution, or the modern day version of the internet, but it's about 10 times bigger than the internet.
This time the revolution is about all the money in the world.
We're seeing a revolution of open source money. We're going to see the largest wealth transfer in human history.
The decks are being reshuffled. It'll make and break nations.
This is a call to action for all Americans to unite and defend what's best for America and her future. This is America, and we will fight for our freedom to defend what we've built. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky. This is episode 2C, right? I think that's right. Apologies, Jack is ill. So Bitcoin Jack or Ethereum Jack won't be on this morning, but we'll have him back on. Get better, Jack. He, I think, was just he said he felt bad a bit. I was like, it's fine. We'll have him on later. Some pretty cool stuff to ask him about, especially. He has, if anyone follows him, if you don't follow him, go follow him on Twitter. He has a lot of really interesting charting, and he fundamentally is on the same wavelength as us, and looks at everything very holistically. And there's a lot of really interesting stuff that he posts, and he's made a lot of really good calls as well. So go follow him, and hopefully we'll have him on in the next few weeks, especially with everything coming up. So because of that, we do have some time at the end to answer some questions. So in the chats, particularly on YouTube, I'm not certain if they're across. I think Facebook as well, maybe. You can ask, and Periscope, you can ask the you can ask a question in there, and we'll hopefully answer something at the end. A few questions. We'll see how much time we have. Next thing we have is the open source money page on Rainmaker. So what we want to do is remind everyone to sign up, especially for the beta. This is very much a community focused show here. So we would like to see a lot of people sign up so that we can get everything tested there for Rainmaker, and basically be ready to start promoting the show with Rainmaker when, or right before it comes out on July 4th. So that will be important. And I don't know all the details on signing up for the beta. I have the app downloaded. I need to get an update though. So we'll see how that goes. Next up, let's see here. We finally got in the physical copies of the billionaire issue of the Forbes Dragonchain ad. So wanted to at least show that to people in its real physical reality. It's kind of interesting, pretty cool, a pretty good issue to be in for certain. And that was actually happenstance. We were supposed to be in the month prior, but there was some delay. It was because of COVID, I think, that they had delays, and so they asked if we could move over, and we didn't realize it was the billionaire issue. So we're like, oh, that's good. So that's good stuff. Let's see here. Then we'll go to the return of Jeffrey Netherlands. So he made a post in DIN, and it confused me at first. I didn't even read it at first because it was about Vikings. And that was interesting. But basically, we're really excited to have him return to the team. He's had some rest. I think we overworked him before he left, and we're gonna try to trick him into being on the show at some future point. Probably set up a meeting in the morning and then not tell him it's the show. Right? That's kind of our plan right now. We don't know, but he'll be on at some point, and at the very least, you'll see him out there. He's already been effective. He's helping us with SEO on Dragonchain itself, obviously, mostly focused on business and mostly focused on enterprise business, but everything. And he's come back in and found some things that we messed up while he was gone. And he's also helping us with the return of merch. So that'll be happening really soon, and definitely before the open source money show comes out, but hopefully in the next few weeks, and everything else. So we don't entirely know everything that he'll be doing, but the team is very community driven, it seems now, and it's a good thing. We have a lot of we've always had a lot of good people, but I'm really happy with how the team's coming together again. It's like getting the band back together. It's a good thing. So next we'll go to DIN. So we have a DIN update. There was another release which fixed a few smaller bugs which were annoying some of us and some of you out there. So that's like, say, stuff with the content refresh and the layer showing at the header. We had some interesting bugs there. And hopefully things are starting to come together and clean up there in the background. Well, I'll tell you too, and we'll show. Let's see here. Let me show a quick demo of the. I didn't even have it up here. I don't know why I didn't have it up. A real quick demo of the new functionality with notifications. We realized, or we learned, that we had a bug with notifications. Oops. We had a bug with notifications that they weren't showing, and I can't remember the detail. There were a couple of places they weren't showing, but it appears everything's good now. And we also now have, once you turn it on, you can individually turn off reply and votes for every layer. We will be adding, hopefully really soon, aggregated notifications, so you can see how much matter you have produced in the past day and what the trending articles are, and in particular to bring more conversations in so that you know where conversations are happening. You know that there's something that sparked an actual thread, or bigger thread, so we can let you know, so you can get in there and partake. So that's Den, and we have a couple of things coming up in the background, some stuff that's being worked on. We've talked in the past about Lore and Lot, that those contracts are getting really close. They're in testing. They've added a couple of extra features, so we're like, okay, we want to do this right. We don't want to rush it, so that will be out soon. And along with that, we will have the official layer creation process finally, that will basically open it up so that the community can build layers every month, and we'll start growing the number of layers. In the meantime, let us know if there's something that's really, really missing, and we can always add them. We have had a few people. We have a Crypto Crow community layer. We have Bitcoin Street Journal layer, and we have a few others that have been added recently. So there's some good stuff going on there. We also have coming up a really interesting canary system for those of you that are privacy minded, that will be, I think, really valuable. It's at least unique in the world, the way we're going to do it. And then we're also going to be adding fairly soon the ability to follow users as well as layers. So you could subscribe to a layer, so posts and replies would show up in your stream from that layer, but you could also subscribe to a particular user, and then posts and replies from that user in any layer would pop in your feed. So that's the bigger stuff coming. I'm probably missing a few things because there's a lot of stuff going on that team. Mobile, and we'll see which pops first, Apple or Android, but at least we all know we need a mobile app, and notifications help right now, but mobile will be useful. Next, our third item is the Beaxy Provably Fair contest, and I'm mostly going to talk about the system itself. So it's really early still in its development. If you remember, we did a demonstration of it way back. It might have, I don't even know what month it was, but where I gave away one of the keyboards that I originally used at Disney to write the first code of the Dragonchain platform. And with it, we actually demonstrated, and mostly it was to see, okay, how will it be understandable to people, and will it work? And we did it entirely manually, where we put something on Eternal, so it was fixated. There's no way for us to cheat about what that information was, and we basically put the entries on chain, right? And so we did it manually on Eternal. The new system does it with a form system, so you can enter anything in for an entry. You can define your entry. It ends up on chain. You know that entry came between the beginning of the contest and the end of the contest, and therefore, when you have the rules set that I believe in this case it is after the end date, the 10th block. So we'll set a date time past the end of the entry period, and 10 blocks of every interchained, Ethereum Classic, Ethereum, Bitcoin, every single one of those blocks, their 10th of those chains, 10th blocks, is hashed to use for the selection of the entries. So anyone, in the end, you have the provability that these entries happened, and they are eligible. And then you have the fact that anyone in the world can watch after a certain point in time and get the 10th block of every chain and tie them together and say, here is the winner. So that's what we're doing, and it'll be particularly interesting. Beaxy has signed on to use it for all of their contests upcoming. We're going to be using it for Obviously, this Dragonchain one to, you know, it was kind of a promotional thing for the contest system itself, where, you know, we're wanting to promote this capability, and we are working on new features, and it's obviously very early for the system as well. It was, you know, just launched, and we will be adding things like the ability to prove that someone had the first correct answer on a contest, and not just say, okay, here are 1,000 entries, which one wins. It'll be, okay, here are 1,000 entries, which ones were correct and which of those was the first. You know, so you could set up much more complex models, but all of it's provable. So there's a lot of really neat stuff in that, and it's going to be a fun system to play with and see it develop, especially when you tie it into social and, you know, tweets and other types of posts on social platforms. So we're going to now, I mean, that's pretty much all of the updates. So now we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to answer questions when we get back. All right.
Yeah. Young Satoshi. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Dragonchain, 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 Dragonchain. Mine 10 blocks on the blockchain. My ETH father for the got paid. These records selling like they hotcakes. We go to the moon like we don't got breaks. If you want to transact on a marketplace, Dragonchain, Dragonchain, Dragonchain. Dragonchain, 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 Dragonchain. Mine 10 blocks on the blockchain. My ETH father for the got paid. These records selling like they hotcakes. We go to the moon like we don't got breaks. If you want to transact on a marketplace, Dragonchain, Dragonchain, Dragonchain. My ETH costs more than your rent. I spend my life savings, get a 10. Dragons get the hottest coming next. Me and Joe Rose make a bet. All this shit seem new to me. Mix the blockchain with security. Keeping data safe is the fluency. How could you not fuck with the company? This the best thing since the internet. Shout to Joe Nell on the project. Dragon Days of Summer getting tired yet? All the coin holders flying private jet. Bought a few dragons for retirement. Eileen Quentin, please call me if you got a sec. Blockchain bitches, yeah, we eyeing it. The dragon is a leash, and we mining it. Dragonchain, 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 Dragonchain. Mine 10 blocks on the blockchain. My ETH father for the got paid. These dragons selling like they hotcakes. We going to the moon like we don't got breaks. If you want to transact on a marketplace, Dragonchain, Dragonchain, Dragonchain. Dragonchain, 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 Dragonchain. Mine 10 blocks on the blockchain. My ETH father for the got paid. These dragons selling like they hotcakes. We going to the moon like we don't got breaks. If you want to transact on the marketplace, Dragonchain, Dragonchain, Dragonchain. Hey. Ooh. It's your boy Young Satoshi. Shout out Joe Rose. Shout out Eileen. Shout out Joe Nell. What up, Crypto Crusader? I see you. Let's do this. 2018 is our year.
That was hilarious. Sorry. So that was from 2018. If anybody had people asking about that, that was from 2018. I think it was somebody Cunningham that put that together. We looked for him. Telegram account is gone. So we're like seeing if we can get an update. If anybody knows the actual contact of that person. So let's see here. So that might have been the first set of questions. Let's see here. Let's go to the top. I'm gonna go to the top and see what we can do for questions. All right, let's see here. We have. All right, here we go. Sorry, post your questions. Okay. Did the 6 to 7 companies sign the contracts, the ones Trey talked about last week? If so, are they building now? I know that he had. I don't know all of them, but I know that he had a few of them signed up that I was involved with, helping him, verify some of the contract stuff. So, yes, I know all, but there are one or two that he was still, working on finalizing. But they're all set. I've been on the phone with a couple of them on the calls. So, and are they building now? I'd have to think. I'm not certain. I know our devs aren't building anything, but I think we're still doing the consulting part right now, where we're figuring out what needs to be built, and most of it is, at least for a couple of them, are very simple, straightforward deployments, where it's mostly ledgering, but a little bit of smart contract for the loyalty score and stuff like that. So I know those are the loyalty score smart contracts have not been built yet, but the rest has started. How is the Divvy interchain coming along? I was supposed to reach out to Jeff from Divvy to see how they were moving on their side. On our side, I think everything is ready. We're waiting to get some connectivity details ironed out for the Divvy node that they are maintaining. I still have to talk to Jeff about whether they will host the L5 or whether we will. So, we still have a little bit left there. And on their use of Dragonchain, I believe they have a node set up. I don't know if they're hitting it yet. I know they've been really busy. I know with the show coming up and with Den and some of the other contracts that we're building on, that my guys, our Dragonchain's dev team, have been really tight on time. So not a lot of spare cycles, but they're moving forward where they can. So we're hopeful, and we're working on a couple of others too as well, by the way, interchain, to see how far we can get with other chains, other projects hosting the maintaining the actual nodes that we're using to interact with for interchain, because that's the world that if we don't do that, it is a lot harder for us to maintain. Somebody's keeping up with all of their patches and making certain everything's secure. I mean, we're doing that for Bitcoin and Ethereum and Ethereum Classic and Binance. And just this past week, we had Ethereum Classic with a fork that we're I think it might be synced up by now. We had a period where we weren't hitting Ethereum Classic, and then we had a period where we right now where Binance is off too, because they had some changes, some things failed on the node, and so we're like, well, we have to go to their team and work with the devs and get everything back up to where it should be. Safe pass adoption. I've heard a couple of things. I've been a little bit out of the loop because I've been so busy. I know they signed on somebody from the other half of the team, and we're working in a couple of places in the Midwest, and in fact, one locality in the Pacific Northwest that is not our county, where I am in Bellevue, where Dragonchain is, but somewhere north of here. And those are the ones I know of, but we're also working with a couple of other bigger groups to see if they can help push that, because we have a lot of things that they don't have, and everybody we've spoken to in particular about the privacy aspects has been really interested, because that's something that no one's cracked yet, but we have. So we'll see. Unstoppable Ethereum Classic, yes. We like Ethereum Classic for a lot of reasons. It's very interesting, and I think very, very good for the ecosystem, how Ethereum Classic developed and how it's true to its philosophy. And you can love Ethereum Classic and still love Ethereum. So it's great stuff. Let's see here. Do you need a Dragonchain account to win the dragons on Beaxy? I believe not. Yeah, there's no reason, because the contest is conducted by Beaxy. We're partnering for it, but they are running the contest, and it is based on their incentives. We made suggestions. We told them what was possible, and this first one, I think they're trying to keep it as simple as they can, just so they have time. Because you think about it, it was really fast turnaround. So we've been happy so far with the back and forth and getting the right information back and forth. But the fact that they can in the future for other contests, as an example, include trading activity as an entry, to include deposits or new registrations as an entry and things like that. And so we've made suggestions, and they're doing a few things, but I do not believe that you have to have a Dragonchain account, although you should have a Dragonchain account, right? And there are what 26, 28 something thousand actual Dragonchain registrations, so you should have one anyway. Let's see here. Crypto Clown, where can we find more info on the Beaxy contest? That is a good question. Blake, can you throw that up on screen? Because you can go to their Medium article. You can probably go to our announcement too, and we might point to it. But I know on their Medium article. So you can go to Den for one and see what we've written about it. And we mostly focus on the contest system because we wanted to keep the rules on their side. But if you go to the Beaxy Medium page, and they have details there, and I think they might be even releasing some newer ones as well, newer details coming. Next up, Brian Schmirk, SM Reeker. Sorry, I used to be able to pronounce this. Apologies, Brian. Is there a way to run verification nodes free of any other software standalone in the future, or a backup system of some kind? Not certain. Let's see here. Run verification nodes free of any other software. So standalone. I mean, you can run, let's see here. You probably already know this, so apologies if you do. You can right now run any of the verification nodes, level 2 through 4. You have to have permission to join the network if you're a level 4 or a level 3. So you have to, and you basically have to run so many level 2s in order to be able to run a level 3, and so many level 3s and to be able to run a level 4 or some other capacity. If you're a member of the Fellowship of Dragons, if you are, if you participated in the Y Dragonchain contest way back in 2018, I think, or if you, you think there was something else. If you have a certain amount of time or a certain balance of dragons, you can also run a level 3, I think, maybe a level 4. It's all in the form which is out there to register for those higher levels. And one way or another, you can run that software on your own machine. And yeah, it is standalone. You can run it on Linux. You could run it on, well, Linux. I don't know if you can easily run it. You can certainly probably run it on Windows or Mac, but I wouldn't. I would run it in Linux. So either way, you can run it on your own. A lot of people are running it on a couple of the cloud environments that are less expensive. So it's, I think that it is profitable often, and sometimes there are gaps between profitability, right? Where there'll be periods where it's kind of dry, and then it'll pick up and it'll be all of a sudden profitable. So I might not have answered your question. So let me know if you have that question somewhere else. I'll answer you. Let's see here. A web platform will be created so that anyone can create a draw or competition like with Beaxy. Yes, there is, and it's in staging still, right? But there is going to be a paid system that, in the very least, at the start, has a forms system where you can, if you have a paid account, create a form, and the form can say, oh, we want to collect your email address, your Twitter account, and answer this question, and whatever else you might do in something like SurveyMonkey or one of the form building web platforms out there, and everything that goes into that is on chain. And so that will be all by itself a separate product as well, where you can just say, okay, I want to take a survey, and everything is on chain. But that feeds into the contest system that if this form has a class, a contest class, it is a contest. You set the begin and end dates, and then you set a model. And right now the model is selection. So it's basically any form that is complete and valid and entered before or between 2 points in time is entered into the contest. When the contest ends, the system waits so many blocks, and later that might be variable, because if you have a $10 million contest, you might want to wait more blocks than if you have a $20 contest. So but one way or another, we're going to have some defaults so that after the end of the contest, so many blocks will go by on each of the interchained blockchains that Dragonchain supports. And once all of those blocks are captured, they're hashed together, and that is used to select of all of the valid entries. Sorry, it's a long explanation, but that's what's going to be there. It's going to be a page system, and we've already tested it to some degree, but we want to do a lot more before we really roll it out for anybody to use. And we might make some free versions of it too. And later, I would expect to see various aspects of social also included, where maybe checking that you followed and retweeted and liked or whatever else on Twitter, and who knows what. So a lot of that would be really valuable. Let's see. And now we have what's going on in Seattle. Cringe is what's going on in Seattle. That is the most cringe-worthy once you get past the disgust. I'm glad we're at least to this side of the lake. I don't know if the powers that be in Bellevue will be smart enough to block the bridges or not when it comes to it, but hopefully it'll all be over before it comes to that. I don't know, stupidity from top to bottom or bottom to top, however you want to say it. Did the governor really not know? Did the governor really not know that was going on? Really? It is, and they're claiming now it's because CNN hasn't reported it. And it's like, well, does he only really watch CNN? Does he not take to Twitter? He has a Twitter account. He tweeted just this morning. Right? Sorry, I'm gonna get into politics, but that stuff is stupid. I'm wearing this shirt right now. So anyway, I'll bring it up later. But it's funny stuff, and there's interesting stuff going on there, but it kind of blows my mind. We've all here known how crazy the politics are over there, and it's coming here as Dragonchain has been really interesting because we're pretty sincere and maybe extreme capitalists living right in the middle of what is, where there are literal communists on city council over there across the lake. And, there's been a little bit of it where maybe osmosis that it comes over this side too a little bit. So yeah, I want to move, but either way, we'll see. Let's see here. Where darn it, I lost myself here. Oh, okay. It moved up really fast there. Okay, let's see here. Is it true that this episode of Super Happy Dragon Lucky will be available on Spotify and other podcast platforms as a podcast in the next few hours? He answers his own question. This is Jeffrey. See, so he is also pushing stuff to Spotify and I think to Google and Apple. I'm not certain where else, but we're going to keep expanding it. So it's going to be exciting. So you'll be able to just listen to this on your drive and your commute into work. For those of you that have good commutes, I don't know who commutes anymore, but either way, if you're listening to the podcast, you won't have to look at me. That might be a plus. And we can, we'll keep that up. I don't know if we're going to have all of the past episodes up or not. I haven't asked about that, but in the very least, we'll have from this point on. We're also getting the transcriptions up. If you watch Bit by the Coin, we'll always post a recap. And the primary reason for that is to get the transcription so that the foreign language can do the translation. So we're going to have all of that up soon. And let's see here. When is expected for, this is Crypto Clown, when is expected for node activity to pick up? I don't know. I mean, we have a few good projects that are rolling out that, Rainmaker will be seeing or pushing a lot of activity, and it will start rolling out before July, I believe. And you might see a little bit before that from the beta. Den is starting to take off, and we'll have a little bit there. The Beaxy stuff, because the integrations with Beaxy should show some activity. And we don't know the patterns yet. It's going to be interesting if there's a lot of batch or if it's just trickle the whole time. We'll see. And we'll see. We're pushing constantly to see, to get stuff built on the system, and we know that it can take it, is the beauty. In fact, two calls that I've been on in the past week where that was a huge concern. One of the reasons that they came to us, and when we're able to show them the fact that what we had demonstrated for scalability in January, it eases their minds. It's like you can see them on the call. We're like, oh, that's good, right? That we aren't going to hit 250 million transactions in a day anytime soon for some of these, but they will have a lot of transactions, and they know that anywhere else they've looked, it was either an impossibility to do what they actually know they need to do for scaling, for number of transactions and how fast they are. It was either impossible for them on other platforms, or it would require a massive build out separate from the blockchain integration. So it was something they didn't, want to have to pay for. And, with us, that's already built. You can just take the system you already have that does the thing that you really know about and plug in the blockchain capabilities and either do the tokenization, interacting with Ethereum or other chains, and also where you can handle the other capabilities, the security, loyalty scores, things like that, that they can then tune those with us with a lot less time to build it out, and it'll be a lot less expensive, therefore. Let's see here. Brian again, will we see more COVID builds soon, you think? Do you mean COVID systems? I'm not sure if you mean COVID systems. I know there are a lot of other projects out there doing stuff. And we have, again, we were working on 3. One of them went away, became something else. And another one is just waiting to announce. We thought we might have them ready to announce in the next week or 2, but it looks like they're wanting to build further on before they announce. So we'll see how that goes. But it's actually COVID, that system, COVID, plus a bunch of other things. So it's not their primary concern, but it is a big piece of it and very interesting. Let's see here. The price is doing La Goma. I don't know. Okay. Why L5 node's still down? Ethereum Classic is either online already or it will be coming online. They were waiting for it to sync back up after the change they had, and Binance were still working with their team to figure out whatever the issue is with that node. It is very much though, and that again is the issue. We would love if if Neo would come back and say, we'll host a node for you, and you just plug in, or if Binance would say, oh yeah, we'll host this node for you, or here's a node that's already running that you can have access to post stuff to. But we haven't gotten there yet with these. We realized pretty late that it was going to be too expensive for what we wanted with the vision to actually maintain all of those nodes. And it wasn't really core strategically, wasn't core to our product. So we're now starting to work, and Divi is the first. We have a couple of others that we're already talking to, the players and the people that actually have influence in those teams. So Link would be great, Cosmos would be great, Polkadot would be great, in particular because of the exponential interop that would happen. But we've only spoken with Polkadot so far, and we aren't certain if they're interested in. You have to think. A lot of it, crypto is very, very tribal. We talked about this before. There are really good people in some of these projects, and they realize it's tribal, but you always have to understand that everyone sees everyone else as a competitor, except for us. We actually, I think we've known for a long time that we and all of the other projects really do depend upon interop and working together, because you have to consider the financial world is heavily against us. They're a little less so than they used to be, but for a long time that it was just a very scary thing, what crypto was, and not knowing the difference between Bitcoin and utility chains and stuff like that. So the more people understand, the better. That is why we sought out to do what we've done with open source money. That we have to cut through all the noise. That if the CoinDesks and Cointelegraphs and all of these others don't want to write about everything without you paying them, then we're going to have to cut through that noise, and and hope that we can not get too upset when we have a lot of trolling on Twitter, because that's what's coming. By the way, when the open source money comes out, be ready. Don't kid yourself. There's going to be a ton of trolling. A lot of it's paid, and a lot of it is just confuse people. It's okay. We'll get past it. Okay, updates BNB and ETH. Sorry, yes, that's on its way. We have the team working on it. Really good team, and a lot of it relies on our interactions with those other projects. That we have to work with them. There aren't a lot of Binance nodes running in the world, right? So when we reach out, it's not something that they commonly do. So they have to figure out who can help us, and they do good. It's a nice thing. Let's see here. Mike Iannuzzi. This keeps me up at night, Joe. Now you should get sleep. The transaction numbers or addresses that you tweeted a long time ago. Any hints you can give us? You can think about this in terms of, I can't give you hints on the particular ones because there were a lot of them, right? But anything that you'd see up there is very often me or us putting in place something for future reference and proof, right? So if ever this issue comes up, we want to establish, here is our answer contemporaneously. So, you think about it, if this is what we answered at that time. So now when something is published by someone else, or something happens, or some events take place, we can point back and prove, well, here's what we said. Now we can, either legally or strategically release this info. We can post it. It's not necessary to put it on Twitter, but it's just an extra point and it's somewhat as I guess the hint I would give is, think about anywhere that you would say to establish, let's say I'm going to guess Bitcoin price, and I know what the price is going to be, and I want to be able to brag about it later, right? It kind of blows my mind that some of the guys don't do this, right? That I'm going to say, here's my call, and here's what it will be, in the future. That you post that on Eternal, you don't have to release that yet. The beauty is you keep the link. You can show at any point in the future. See, I called it. Now the issue with that is you could post, I think it's going to go up, or I think it's going to go down, and you could release which one, right? So what the tweets do is make it so that it's more established. Okay, here I publicly given the hash, not the transaction ID, so nobody can look it up, but I publicly have exposed the hash so that in the future, when I show it, I can say that. And that's why also I will put the little a bit of information on either date or some acronym that will point to, this is when I tweeted about that thing, right? And when we expose it later, and some of them might not ever be exposed, but some of them will, I'm sure. And it's always really interesting. And that also right now is not as exposed as much for DIN, but on DIN, when you publish something, it's published, and that for pro accounts, we might allow you to not publish something but have it stored on chain anyway before. And we might also, we know that we're going to have an eternal proof report for every bit of content that's on DIN as well, that right now we don't have. Right now it's just, here it is, and it looks like you're posting on Facebook or Reddit. But really every single piece of content, every post, every reply, every vote is on chain, and it's all provable all the way up to Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that stuff's coming. And it's really interesting stuff. And it's just there's a gap in understanding that when people realize what, okay, it's neat that I can prove that this tweet did say this, and even though it's deleted by either Twitter or by the politician, that you can show what the tweet was with proof. It isn't just a screenshot, because anybody can fake a screenshot, and it's just that measurable hundreds of millions of dollars worth of proof that's so valuable. And when you now tie that to the fact that I don't have to expose it yet, I can expose the hash, so I can prove to you. So I could say, okay, I'm going to answer your question, but I'm not going to tell you the answer yet. I'm going to give you the hash. And now after the date, it could be, a contest. It could be something where we all reply in with a hash. And then when the reveal happens, then, we say, okay, see, I answered, here it is. Here's proof that is the eternal transaction, so on and so on. Bunch of neat stuff, right? Let's see here. Yes. Thank you, Coca-Cola, answering the question for everyone that Ethereum Classic had an upgrade Phoenix that was fully compatible with Ethereum. So we were a little late to getting to that because the team was pretty busy. So apologies there, but it is a good demonstration that Ethereum and Bitcoin are still there. So we're still generating security. Let's see here. When will we see new data in the metrics? Very good question. It's on our list. I'm wanting to see, just so you guys know, I'm wanting to show number of registered users on the system. I'm wanting to show number of eternal tweets, and that might be on Eternal itself, number of eternal transactions, because they're pretty high. And the number of total interchain transactions will be on there, and things like that, more aggregated pieces that we want to add. And we're starting to capture some of that stuff. There's going to be in Eternal, talking about metrics, there's going to be a big update coming. We had to push it off because we realized there was a small issue that kept that we weren't tracking enough data, but we're going to have the measured amount of security added very soon on Eternal, on the proof report, which that's when I think people will really understand it. Because right now, when it's thousands of zettahashes or whatever, it doesn't register. No, humans don't understand the magnitude of that much power unless you put a monetary figure on it. So we're going to have an extrapolated, estimated US dollar cost of the security applied for any transaction. It's going to be amazing. Let's see here. Any updates on auto withdrawal function over $500 or what the process will be? I actually don't know. I'd have to figure out really soon. I haven't kept up with that, so I'll ask. I'll figure out what there is, but I know we can always do. We have to do what we have to do for KYC, and everything has worked around that. But I think it's a good, fair system. So. CTLC revamp and a dev cycle soon. What do you envision it looking like for pricing and for community side? We're working at right now. It's going to be probably, and this is totally a guess, but just so you understand how it would work, that the setup fee that an enterprise comes in with, we're going to break that into an 80-20, and we think that's the right measure. We aren't absolutely certain yet, where 80% of it will go towards buying dragons directly, probably market, if they are there, and putting those into a wallet, which will accrue time, so that within 60 or 90 days, that node will have enough time applied to meet their plan transaction fee level. So let's say it's down to a penny. So you'd have to have enough time. So you'll have to buy enough dragons to hold enough dragons to have enough time in 90 days to get to a penny transaction fee. Okay, so in the meantime, what do? You have that gap. So that's where CTLC comes in, and we would basically take that 20% of the setup fee, and who knows, it could end up being 30%, it could be 10. It depends on how the numbers end up, but that those will go towards the purchase of CTLC. And instead of it being a 3-month contract, it'll very likely be something where you either commit and it's held, or potentially for scarcity, or potentially it could be unused. If you haven't committed it elsewhere, that you just say, okay, anything that I haven't committed on this address is open for CTLC, something like that. And we would then grab, multiple millions of time to apply to these nodes that people need. And on the low end, you're talking, I think it's 12.5 cents at the low end, to 500 a month for a node. And that, you only need 1 million. So it's only one CTLC contract for 3 months. And we don't know yet, though, the ordering. How do we determine which CTLC contracts are taken first? That's the thing that we're looking at right now, trying to model before we go too far. So let's see here. I will answer the look louder one. I don't know precisely. I have to look back at some of it. That's a trumpet, right? So Wang Dufu. That we know that they have been working with their lawyers to do what is necessary, and they're basically taking a very conservative approach because they've had enough trouble already. At least that's what I would apply it to. But that they are following whatever guidance is given to them by the authorities. So if I do know in particular that they've been trying for quite a while to just to get permission to just give the tokens to the people who bought them. And I don't know. I have no idea how everything else works. I know that they were able to do stuff for people who were accredited investors in the U.S., but I don't know beyond that. So that's something that you would have to go take up with them in all truth, because we don't represent them, so we can't. What is the extent of Beaxy integration? Is it only the Provably fair, or are they using DC some other way? We'll be talking about that in the future. There's some really, really good stuff that they're doing, and we're really impressed with their team and with their platform. So you'll hear more in the future. Let's see here. What are your thoughts on Tether? To me, it is one of the largest potential risks in crypto today. I think it always has been. It's extremely interesting as a use, as are most stable coins. But I think the thing that's most hits my mind about Tether was in late 2017, when everyone was worried because if they fell through, a lot of crypto would fall. But at the same time, who knows if they, especially back then, you could watch whenever a bunch of Tether was mined, Bitcoin would go up, right? So not mined, minted, right? So I have no idea. I had theorized, and I was a little more open to discussing new systems back then. Now it's not worth it, frankly, to deal with the regulatory risks and legal and everything that you'd have to pay for. But there is no technical reason why someone could not have a stable coin which is provably backed, right? That and even if it was third-party independent, that we have multiple banks cryptographically signing Oracle transactions or something with some type of evidence, but it should be better than it is on most of them. And we have some friends that have some stable coins. Stably here is local. Those guys are really awesome, and their team's really good. And I don't know enough about some of the stuff going on, because when you get into stable coins, to me, it is much more of a fintech obviously fintech, but it's very, very tied to the banks and the traditional world. That there's no way around it. That if you do stablecoin, they have to be able to keep the token stable. So it's interesting. That's all and I've not kept up with Tether. US dollar token is another one, right? So anyway, let's see here. What's going on in Seattle? Again, cringe, horrible, ridiculous stuff. Yeah, we're in the clear, at least so far. We had riots in Bellevue, which was dumb. We had stuff going on that wasn't too far away from here. So we had everything loaded up last was it 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, something like that. But we're in the clear, but always be ready. Don't forget that. All right. Could Dragon become their new currency? I don't know. It's not a currency. You can use it as a currency, but it is very much tokenized micro license. The patent is there, everything else. So it's good stuff. Let's see here. Randomized CTLC selection process, just like node selection, maybe better. Use the same tech as provably fair system. That's a great idea, Brian. Right? You could potentially say, look, it's totally random, but it's provably random. Because we're, right now for scalability, we're, with the other, we're not using the same. We're not using the same system for randomness. We're using a random number generator. That might not even be a bad addition to the actual protocol itself in DragonNet. So great idea. We'll get the pronunciation and we'll call it the Smricker system. Maybe. Let's see here. Brian Howell, if Dragonchain is buying the dragons from the market, it will naturally increase the price. How do you calculate how much the business would need to spend if the price is going up as you're buying? That is a huge issue. So is the problem of if we knowing the setup fees and knowing my thought right now is that if dragons were 10 times more expensive, as an example, the setup fees could not cover as many dragons to accrue the time. So we're going to have to figure that out. And right now, the solution is CTLC. So you're going to end up with, we'll phase from, okay, part of that going into market buy versus CTLC. You're going to end up with a lot more of it having to go to CTLC, and the company at some point will probably have to go and buy on their own. And we do have, by the way, at least a few customers coming in that already have significant balances of dragons, and for them, there's no setup fee. They already have time. It's all good. So we don't have some of the same mechanics in some cases. It's interesting. They're calling for a new flag and new currency. Oh boy, I don't think they're going to use dragons. It would be funny. I really don't think they will. But God, what's going to be on the flag? Oh brother. Anyway, I don't want to speculate. Let's see here. What do you attribute making headway in a space? I think, frankly, 3 years of just building under a lot of pressure and under a lot of heat from everywhere. You think about crypto Twitter, paid trolls, and there are paid trolls. The government, the federal government, the state government, idiots, people out there that come in and try to do stuff and then say, oh, you can, and then try to sue us, and they're baseless. And we're pretty good at, and that's, by the way, think about Eternal. We're pretty good at countering those claims, because we're doing everything solid. We're doing everything as clean as we can and as straight as we can, and we're just building and building and building. And we've been building since 2014. So you have to think about that whole period. And we have some of the same team members. Alex is still on the team. Alex is amazing, and he was the second intern we had at Disney. And so it's like we've been building this stuff since then, and we've learned a lot, in particular in how we communicate with stuff. And we've gone through a lot of different stuff. But anytime you think about how do you break through all the noise? We got the Holy Grail patents, and we still couldn't break through all the noise. They ignore us. CoinDesk wouldn't write anything. Cointelegraph wouldn't even write anything once Disney was out of the picture. So we're going it on our own. We're building stuff, and people in time find us, and it all works. But occasionally we have the brilliance of hiring Chad and breaking through a ton of noise. Why? To get the news out. It's like it's open sourced now. We have Interchain. This is real. We did the 24-hour demo that broke through a little bit, but still, did you see any stories on any major outlets in crypto? He's like, okay, this is a big deal. It's like they'll brag about someone being the first hybrid blockchain platform out there because it came from who was that from? Chase, right? JP Morgan Chase. It's like, was that really the first time? It's like, no, but they're the first one to pay Cointelegraph to print about that. So you have to think we have to cut through all that crap. And that's why open source money is there. And I think a lot of it right now is because, okay, we're about to come out of the long winter, right? And we've timed, on our own or not, the release of open source money, which has a lot more than just Dragonchain involved. It's very much about we're about the tech and about this wider community, and it's hard, right? So let's see here. Yeah, the gun is not for threats. JM, it is very much for defense. So that's what they're all for, right? Let's see here. Chad. I think it's it. I think we're all good, right? So anyway, I'll sign off. That was slightly over an hour. Apologies, I didn't mean to make it that long, but some good questions. And we'll be back next week with some new info. There's a lot of stuff, of course, coming up. So be on the lookout for things for the contest from Beaxy. We'll have some other info on a couple of different projects that is planned to be coming out in the next few weeks. We have, of course, a lot coming out about open source money and how we're going to promote it, and we're going to reach out. Hopefully, everyone out there will help us promote it and get it out further. And we're also reaching out if other crypto projects are interested, both in interop, interchain, and that's bi-directional. We want to do things with you, not to you. So if we can work with you to do something that's valuable to your community, reach out. And also some of the stuff with open source money, there are a lot of other projects involved in that, and some really good content interviews that aren't just Dragonchain. And that's the whole point of it. So anyway, good stuff. Thanks a bunch. Subscribe, like, everything else, share it as you can. Thank you. Bye.